I never thought a simple house renovation would change my life forever. It started like any other morning, the sound of drills, hammers, and laughter of my kids running through the half-finished living room. But everything stopped the moment the contractor's hammer hit an old wall in the basement. I saw his face turn pale, his hands trembling as the hammer clattered to the floor. He grabbed my arm, pulling me aside with eyes wide in fear. His voice was barely a whisper, but it carried a weight that froze my blood. "Sir, get your children and leave this house now. Do not tell your wife." For a second, I thought he was joking, but the panic in his eyes was real. My heart pounded in my chest as confusion and dread twisted inside me. What could be inside a wall that would make a grown man shake like that? Before I tell you what he showed me, please, if you're watching this, press the like button, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe, because what I'm about to reveal is darker than anything you've ever heard. The contractor pointed to a hole in the wall, his hands still trembling. I leaned in, my breath shallow, and the moment my eyes focused on what was hidden inside, my world stopped. My knees nearly buckled as I staggered back. I didn't ask another question. I just grabbed my kids by their hands, my heart racing, and rushed them out of the house. One thought screamed in my mind over and over. What the hell had my wife been hiding from me? Outside, the sunlight felt harsh, almost unreal after what I had just seen in the shadows of that wall. My kids clung to me, asking why we had run out so suddenly, but my throat was too dry to answer. The contractor followed me out, wiping sweat from his forehead, his voice shaky. "Sir, you shouldn't be living here. That thing inside, it doesn't belong in a home. It's a warning, or maybe a secret." I wanted answers, but he refused to explain further. "Just talk to your wife," he said finally, refusing to meet my eyes. "She knows. Trust me." Then he packed his tools and left without even asking for his payment. My stomach nodded. Why would he say she knows? Why would he look at me with pity? I replayed every detail in my head. My wife's recent late nights, her mysterious phone calls, the way she laughed when I asked simple questions. At the time, I thought it was nothing. But now, every piece felt like part of a puzzle I hadn't seen before. I put the kids in the car, telling them we were going for ice cream, but inside I was shaking. The truth was waiting for me back inside that house, behind that broken wall. But was I ready to face it? Slowly, I walked back into the basement alone. The air was damp, heavy, and smelled of dust. My flashlight cut through the darkness as I leaned closer to the hole in the wall. My breath caught in my chest when I saw it again. It wasn't just debris. It was something deliberate. Something placed there, hidden with purpose. And somehow I knew it was connected to Rachel, my wife. The beam of my flashlight trembled as my hand shook. At first, I thought it was just a bundle of old wood and plaster until I noticed the plastic wrapping. Thick black garbage bags, sealed tight with duct tape. And sticking out of one bag was something that made my stomach drop, a stack of photographs. I pulled one out with trembling fingers, and my blood ran cold. It was Rachel, my wife, smiling in the arms of another man. Date after date, photo after photo, hidden carefully away as if mocking me from inside that wall. These weren't just innocent pictures. They were intimate, private. Proof of nights I never knew existed. Why would she hide these? And why here? My knees buckled as I flipped through them, each one driving a knife deeper into my chest. Different hotels, restaurants, even our living room couch, all captured in glossy betrayal. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear my own breath. Contractor's words echoed in my head. Don't tell your wife. Now I understood why not suddenly. I noticed something else stuffed inside the bag, a small notebook. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside were scribbled notes, dates, initials, even money transfers. It wasn't just an affair. It was a timeline, a plan. I stumbled backward, clutching the evidence, my mind screaming. My wife hadn't just been unfaithful. She had been building a secret life, one hidden in the very walls of our home. And in that moment, the house I once dreamed of rebuilding felt like a coffin closing in around me. I sat at the kitchen table, the photographs spread out in front of me like poisoned memories. My hands were still trembling when I heard the front door open. Rachel walked in, carrying shopping bags, humming as if the world was perfect. When her eyes landed on the photos, the smile vanished. For a second, she froze. Then, to my shock, she didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She laughed. A sharp, cruel laugh that cut through me. So, you found my little scrapbook, she said, tossing her purse onto the counter. Took you long enough. I stared at her, numb. Rachel, why? Why hide this in our walls? Why hide him from me? She shrugged like it was nothing. Because you were never supposed to find it. You think fixing toilets and painting walls makes you a man? Please, he gives me everything you never could. Her words hit harder than any punch. My chest ached as if she had ripped my heart out right there. I wanted to scream, to break something, but all I could do was sit in silence, staring at the woman I thought I knew. She leaned closer, her voice cold and venomous. You were always just temporary. And now you finally know the truth. My hands clenched into fists under the table. She thought I was weak. She thought I would just break. But deep inside me, something shifted. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about saving my marriage. I was thinking about revenge. That night, I lay in bed beside Rachel, her phone lighting up every few minutes with messages she didn't bother hiding anymore. I stared at the ceiling, my chest heavy, my mind replaying her words. You were always just temporary. For years, I had worked myself to the bone, fixing this house, building a future, raising our kids with love. And now, she dismissed it all as if it meant nothing. My anger burned hot, but I knew one thing: if I exploded now, I'd lose everything. So I stayed quiet. I pretended to be broken, humiliated, defeated. Rachel smirked, believing she had crushed me completely. But deep inside, a plan was forming. The photos, the notebook, the dates, they weren't just proof of betrayal. They were leverage, evidence, tools I could use. And while she bragged to her lover, while she laughed behind my back, I would be preparing something she never expected. I started small. I made copies of everything I found in the wall, hiding them in places she'd never think to look. I called a locksmith and changed the locks on the basement, telling her it was for safety during renovations. She didn't question it, Every fake smile, every quiet nod from me was part of the game. She thought she had destroyed me. She thought she had already won, but she had no idea her biggest mistake was underestimating the man she thought was just temporary. Over the next few weeks, I played my role perfectly. To Rachel, I was still the broken man who swallowed every insult in silence. She mocked me at dinner, bragged to her friends about her real man, and acted as though I was invisible. She didn't realize I was watching every move she made, every call, every text. Late at night, while she slept soundly beside me, I backed up her messages, her photos, her entire digital world. I hired a private investigator to follow her, documenting where she went and who she was with. Every page of the report was another nail in the coffin she was building for herself. Meanwhile, I started making quiet changes at home. I moved money out of our joint account. I secured the house under my name alone. The locks were changed one by one, but I never mentioned it. She thought I was still too weak to fight back. Then one evening, while Rachel was dressing up for another girls' night out, I stood in the doorway watching her. She smirked at her reflection and said without looking at me, "Don't wait up." But this time, I smiled back. "Don't worry," I said softly. "I won't." For the first time in months, she paused, her brow furrowing. Something in my tone unsettled her. She didn't know it yet, but the ground beneath her feet was already crumbling. And soon, the wall she thought protected her secrets would come crashing down. It started small, almost invisible. Rachel came home one afternoon furious that her credit card had been declined at an expensive restaurant. She blamed the bank, cursed under her breath, and didn't notice my calm smile from across the room. A week later, her lover showed up at our house, pounding on the door in the middle of the night. I watched from the upstairs window as he shouted about missing money, about promises Rachel had made. She scrambled outside, whispering desperately to calm him down, but his voice carried through the neighborhood. "You said you had access. Where's the cash, Rachel?" The next morning, I laid the photographs and notebook copies on the kitchen counter, not for her, but for our daughter to see. When Rachel came downstairs and saw the look in our daughter's eyes, her face drained of color. The perfect mother mask she always wore cracked instantly. Why would you show her this? She screamed at me, but this time her voice shook. "Because," I said coldly, "she deserves to know the truth about her mother." For the first time, Rachel looked cornered, trapped in her own lies. The confidence, the arrogance, it was slipping away. She slammed doors, made frantic phone calls, but I stayed calm. Every move she made, I had already anticipated. She thought she was in control for years. But now, every thread of her life was unraveling in my hands, and the best part? She hadn't even seen the final blow coming yet. The house was silent the night I finally ended it. Rachel stormed into the living room, her face pale, her hands trembling. She had just gotten off the phone. Her lover had cut ties with her completely. Furious over the missing money and terrified of the evidence I had gathered. "You ruined everything," she screamed, tears streaking down her face. "No, Rachel," I said calmly, holding the folder of documents I had prepared. "You ruined everything the moment you decided I was just temporary." I slid the papers across the table, copies of her affair records, the financial transfers, the photos, and the investigator's report. These are already with my lawyer. By morning, you'll have nothing. Not the house, not the kids, not even a cent of my money." She lunged toward me, desperate, but froze when she noticed the changed locks on the front door and windows. She wasn't in control anymore. She was locked out of the life she had mocked me for building. Our daughter stood quietly by the stairs, her eyes filled with both sadness and anger. "Mom," she whispered, "you don't deserve us." Those words broke Rachel more than anything I could have said. With a final smirk, I opened the door and tossed her suitcase, the one she had secretly packed for another man, onto the porch. "Go find someone else to use," I said, "because your time here is over." As the door closed behind her, I felt a weight lift off my chest. I wasn't the broken man she thought I was. I was the man who rebuilt his life stronger than she could ever imagine, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of what tomorrow would bring.